Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, move over Vegas, move over Tuscan, move over of the Lost Ark, the Splatoon Raiders are here. Find magic in a cave south of the castle, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society finds magic with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including the announcement of a new Splatoon game. And then on Thursday, we are celebrating our 866th episode with a series of questions, not at all about Nintendo. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
It's going great. Patrick, I have a question for you about your stovetop.
Okay.
Do you have a burner that you favor? Are you like left, like bottom left, bottom right? Your go-to.
Right.
Don't overthink it. Just like imagine yourself putting a saucepan
Sure,
on
I'm not.
the stove.
What's happening right now is not that I'm overthinking it. What's happening right now is that I know we've had this conversation on this show in this segment before.
Oh, no. I
Don't think so?
I don't think so.
Do you have a preferred burner?
Do I have a preferred burner? Well, my oven now has one that is like labeled ultra heat, and I don't really know what that
Sure.
means
I would be afraid to use ultra heat.
compared to the other ones.
It's a lot of responsibility.
But I would say we tend to favor ultra heat.
So positionally, where is that?
Bottom right.
Bottom. What do you mean by bottom?
Oh yeah.
Front right?
Yeah. What is it? Downstage.
Yeah,
Downstage
sure.
right.
Yes. Yeah, and similarly, that is also where that's my primary burner for something that I'm like actively doing. If it's something where it's just gonna like sit like rice or something,
Sure. Yeah.
then I'll go back burners for those.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yes, I default to front right. Our front left burner has a problem in that it heats up like you expect it to, and then if you ever try to like dial it back down, it's like, nah, I stay red hot. So you have to like turn it off and then like crank it back up to like a lower level.
You know, it's so funny after 866 episodes, approximately, that I would feel so strongly that we haven't talked about it because it seems possible
yes.
that we would have. So, yeah, I guess if we have somebody who remembers us talking about it, let us know.
Yeah.
If we still favor the same as burners, I guess.
Yes, I would like
because
to
we
know
don't
that as well.
document what is in these like cold open things, so
No,
we would have no way of looking it up.
That's right. Well, and we've gotten pretty good at documenting just about everything else that we talk about. Anytime we like make a list or there's like a ranking or we're casting something like that, there's a record of that now. There wasn't always.
That's right.
But yeah, I would say, and like 433 topics, those are all also noted. We know what we've talked about.
Yeah.
But here in the little welcome part here before we start
the wild wilderness.
Stuff, it is the wilderness.
Yeah.
And so you know what? If we have talked about this before, don't tell us. I prefer it to be wilderness. Once you've mapped it, it's no longer wilderness.
Oh, it's true. It's like playing Breath of the Wild for the first time.
It is just like that. And if you would like to support us in
I'm here for it.
Yeah, okay. I'm that's a good transition. Patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you are supporting us at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once a month episodes of miniseries like NCS at the Movies.
Yes, where Patrick and I are going to go see movies together, and then we're going to talk about them. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially with blockbuster movie season upon us. And like I mentioned before, due to scheduling conflicts, we're not going to have one in June, but we will have 2 episodes in July.
Yep. And we got big superhero movies to talk about, Superman and Fantastic Four, First Steps. So we'll be doing all of those. And Mark, what I love about this is we can pick whatever movies we want, so I don't have to see the new Jurassic World movie. Isn't that nice? Isn't that comforting?
That is comforting. I'm going to be honest.
You're sort of thinking about seeing it.
Yeah, I think I might.
Okay.
It's directed by Gareth Edwards.
Okay, all right. Give me a call. I'll go.
Kopp. I don't know how you say his name. Koepp.
Yes. And it's got Mahershala Ali in it.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean,
it's gonna be bad.
Gotta be.
I don't know.
But yeah, you're right. No guarantees.
No guarantees in Jurassic World. But check that out if you are interested in any of our back catalog. We've got NCS Arcade there, where we've played games usually that are available on NSO. NCS Detective Club, NCS Goes Broadway.
Yeah, and if you follow us over there for free, there's a back catalog of listener feedback episodes that we put out in response to NCS Arcade episodes. So
yeah, and we don't have a plan to do that specific thing for At the Movies, but I'm sure at some point something will wind up there for free followers. So still do that. Something will show up there at some point. I am certain of it. Speaking of places where things show up, you should join our Discord if you're not there already. People talk about Nintendo all the time. Email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and I will send you an invitation. Mark, are you ready to get into what we've been playing this week?
Let's do it.
All right, we've got a pair of Zelda games that we've been playing, but before that, I want to just check in on Mario Kart World for a little bit, see if your experience with the game has changed, if your perception of it has changed at all. Mark, how are you feeling about Mario Kart World?
Yeah, I would say that my perception of it hasn't really changed since we talked about it on Thursday's episode, but I did... On Thursday, you talked about how much you liked the new Rainbow Road.
Yes.
And I hadn't played it at that point. So over the weekend, I did play Rainbow Road, and I had like one cup left that I had to do before I could get the special cup. And yeah, it's a really good Rainbow Road.
Yeah.
Like one thing I really like about it is I don't like the Rainbow Road in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I think that it's a mean track. Like I think it's set up for you to fail. Like it'll have boosters right before a tight corner, just being like, all right, you asked for it, you're flying off the edge of this thing. But I feel like this Rainbow Road in Mario Kart World is still like fun and does like it has interesting terrain, but is not built in a way that's like, yeah, we want to make it doesn't feel like it's mean. It doesn't feel like it's like purposefully
it's not there to trick you or anything.
Yeah, they're not. It doesn't feel like it's trolling you.
The other thing I would just say is that like aesthetically, the Rainbow Road in Mario Kart 8 is like space stations and stuff, right? And what I like always about Rainbow Road is that it is like a space fantasy, right? That you are riding around on the rings of Saturn, you're going down to the moon, you are literally driving on a rainbow road through the stars. And then like 8 Deluxe is like, but what if we explained like science and space travel, like all this stuff where I'm like, this is incongruous to me. Like you're stapling the wrong kind of aesthetic onto this. And well, the new Rainbow Road borrows that for one section of the track. It is like not its overriding philosophy. The finish line of the new Rainbow Road is out in space. Like you launch off of a ramp and it's just like floating out there in the nothingness. And that's just so consistent with like the magic of Rainbow Road.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun, and I also thought just the way it's like introduced once you unlock it, once you unlock the special cup, is a lot of fun as well. Also, when I was because I was also messing around in like the free roam mode and all of that. Also on Thursday's episode, I talked about a piece of music that I really liked that I thought sounded like Great Fairy Fountain from Zelda, but I didn't think could be because I don't think there's any Zelda music in the game. And I was driving around like trying to do one of the P-switch tasks, and I heard...
Did you make your way back to that park?
I did, but
But that's not where you heard it?
That's not where I heard it. And I heard the music again, and this time I thought to do a screen recording so that way I could hear it back.
Oh, smart. Yes.
Shazam didn't recognize it. Shazam also did not recognize me humming it, or trying to anyways. But I knew like that it was... I just had a gut feeling that it was from one of the original 3 Super Mario Brothers games from the NES. And I was pretty sure it wasn't from the first one or Super Mario Brothers 2, because that has such a distinct soundscape.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
also, there's not that much music in Super Mario Brothers 2. It's like 4 or 5 pieces of music.
Right. And so I thought to look at Super Mario Brothers 3 first, and I just used the Nintendo Music app, and I just went track by track by track until I finally heard it, and it's the overworld music for World 3.
Yes, the water area.
Yes,
yeah.
the water area.
Which is then, kind of consistent with the theming of the Great Fairy Fountains. Like, it's another sort of ethereal, watery kind of track.
Yeah, and I brought this up on Discord, and there was like a discussion about Koji Kondo's influences and all that kind of stuff. That was a lot of fun. But it just felt so good to be able to identify it. And in the game, in Mario Kart World, it's part of a overworld theme medley that they put
from
together
Super Mario Brothers
from Super
3.
Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I felt such relief being able to identify it.
So some of what you experienced there is sort of like crystallizing in my head my impression of the game. And forgive me if I've expressed like some of this before, but like this is an evolving opinion that I have of this game. That with the pieces of music that it will play for you, which are so good, they obviously put a ton of work into arranging and selecting and recording and all this stuff. There's no kind of consistency to when music plays, what music plays. It feels like there's some algorithm based on who you're driving as, what location you're in. If you're on like the free roam or in an actual race or maybe in a knockout track or a final lap or whatever, and then it like randomly selects from the appropriate songs, for all that stuff, and then doesn't tell you what the track is called. That there is this element of persistent mystery to the game that they refuse to pull back the curtain on, and this is true of a lot of the free roam, where it's like, okay, we'll tell you how many question mark panels there are on a track, but we won't tell you how many P-switches there are. We won't tell you how many P-switches there are in the game total. We'll let you know how many you've done, but not how many there are. And ditto the Peach medallions. All of that coupled with the fact that also you are unlocking character costumes by getting food, and certain characters respond to different kinds of food. Different food is spawned in different areas, and like you can't really logic your way around it. Some characters have 2 costumes, some have 9, and a lot of them are the enemy characters that don't have any. And then on top of that, how do you unlock more enemy characters? You wait for Kamek to turn you into them. It is...
Wait, is that how that works?
Yes.
Oh.
So when if you don't have, I'm gonna pick one that I think is in the default, but if you don't have Monty Mole yet, and the Kamek like dashes forward and turns people into Monty Mole, then it unlocks Monty Mole as a playable character from there on out. And you as the player have no control over. You have control over using the Kamek item if you're the one who gets it, but you have no control over what Kamek does ever. And if you are looking at the baddies as like a list of guys to unlock, that's really frustrating. Which is true of if you're looking at the P-switches as a list of accomplishments to check off. Same with the medals, same with the costumes. It's a frustrating experience. But there's so much of it, and it's so mysterious how it works, that every time you find a P-switch, every time you unlock a new costume, every time you find a medallion, it's a fun surprise. And what they've cultivated in Mario Kart World is surprise and delight over and over and over again. I can't tell if it's to the game's benefit or detriment, but it is not how we as a gaming population are used to interacting with games now, right? Even in something as open world as like Zelda, and as like undirected as Zelda, we still have like, waypoints on the map and quest logs and all that kind of stuff. And I think the rewards for exploring in Mario Kart World are, quite a bit softer than they are in like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild. But it's like the same kind of philosophy where the thing that's driving you is your desire for discovery and surprise. And I just think it's so interesting that they built this whole game on that and not on checklists.
Yeah, that is so interesting, especially the Kamek thing where it's like the game is just rewarding you for playing more.
Yes.
The more you play, the more opportunity you'll have to unlock those characters. You can't, at least at this point, seemingly like min-max it, you know?
Yes. Well, and what's like, so when we think about unlocking characters, we think about that as something that you earn by playing.
Yeah, like a reward for
Yes.
like carts where it's like, oh, here's a reward
Yes.
for getting 600 coins.
Right. And so like those are in the game, that there are rewards and something that you earn, but like you don't really earn some of these things. You just encounter them and are surprised by them.
Same thing with like mirror mode. There is mirror mode in the game. I haven't unlocked it yet because IGN published an article I think last week that was like, hey, we've heard a lot of rumors about how to do it, but here's how we're saying it can be done. But It's just interesting that there's no there wasn't agreement initially on how mirror mode got unlocked.
Right. And obviously like a game spends enough time in the wild and people are going to
totally
we crowdsource all these things. So like there will be step-by-step instructions on how and where to get everything in the game. But like very obviously that is not how the game wants you to play it. It wants you to just like hop into free roam and like drive around areas until you stop finding stuff and then drive to a different area.
Yeah, and that's kind of a in some ways, I guess, a fun side effect of Nintendo not giving out early copies of the game. Because like there weren't guides ready to go or anything as soon as it dropped. I do think one thing that you mentioned in the music, saying that like if you're playing like a Grand Prix, I think that the music that you hear on the tracks in like a Grand Prix is
that may
programmed.
Be set. Yeah, you're right. I'm playing both myself and Sarah have been playing a lot more in free roam, where that seems to be on like sort of a algorithm driven
agree.
DJ.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you probably are right that an individual track has like the song that it plays.
I've been playing, mostly now that after I opened Special Cup, I've been spending more and more time in free roam.
Yeah.
And some of those challenges are tricky.
Yes.
Like there was one where it's like fly to the city or something like that, and there's just these biplanes that that are like you're like going from like you're going from like wing to wing.
Oh, fun.
But like you said, the game doesn't like spell out to you what you're supposed to do, so it's like guess I'm supposed to get on the wing of this biplane, and then there's like another one. It was just a fun challenge that took me a few tries to get.
Well, and that's true of like a lot of the wall riding challenges too, where it's like,
oh, I'm so bad at wall riding.
And here's the thing with wall riding, and like the game doesn't tutorialize it literally at all. It is, again, just like the rest of the game, it's there for you to discover. And I genuinely think that wall riding is like drifting in a Mario Kart game. The first time someone explained drifting to you in a Mario Kart game, you were like, what are you talking about? I hold the button, they jump, and then they start skidding, and then I push back and forth a couple times. Sparks, like it's tough to wrap your head around it, because then like your control also changes while you're doing that. But at some point you get it and you're like, oh, I'm faster this way. And I feel like wall riding's the same thing. That when I think I know what I'm doing and I'm trying to explain what I've done to Sarah, who's like taking on a P-Switch challenge, she's like, what? I don't know what you're saying. Like it sounds crazy until you just like get it under your fingers.
The other thing that I have found in Mario Kart World is I used to be back in the day, like on Mario Kart 64, and I would say even like Wii, I used to be really good at being able to hit the boost at the beginning of races.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, you're supposed to do it like right after the second light flashes or whatever. In Mario Kart World, I think this is new. I finally get it, because the way that they do it in Mario Kart World is that when you press the accelerate button before a race starts, the like flames begin to grow out of the back of your car, and you want them to grow so that they are the largest they can be without tipping over when that third light clears. And there's like that visual signifier that for whatever reason
that helps you or hurts you.
It helps me.
Okay.
Because my timing was all off in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But for whatever reason, that like visual signifier, it's like, oh, I get this. Like
That's funny.
I get how this is supposed to work.
The more time I spend with it, the more I'm like fascinated by Mario Kart World. I wonder if they're ever going to like patch in any kind of like tracking of any of that kind of stuff. It seems like it would be easy to do, but also because it seems like it would be easy to do, it makes me wonder, like, well, why isn't it there in the first place? And it's because I think it's an intentional design choice.
Yeah, maybe it totally could be, but I still think that they may be open to the feedback, and the reason I say that is because when they did the Switch, or when they did, I think like the Switch 2 update for Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, they added
a favorite feature
because
Echoes,
people didn't like the general feedback was like having to scroll through every echo was really annoying, even though it was a conscious design decision that they had made and had defended as saying we wanted you to see what was everything that was available. Maybe that would spark an idea instead of just having your favorites
that just relying on the same one.
But they ended up doing it, so maybe even if it wasn't the design intention, they will end up adding something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and like just thinking about Breath of the Wild didn't launch with Path of the Hero.
Oh yeah,
right. Like that came later. So they're not above like putting in something that seems a little bit like and it's not even that it like breaks the ethos of the game, but it just like kind of tweaks the mystery of it. Which I think at this moment in time, the game is maybe too mysterious, but it is certainly very mysterious.
Especially in free roam. Although the more I play free roam, the more I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like, the more I've enjoyed it a lot.
You know what's a super fun free roam area is Boo Cinema.
Oh, I spent a little bit of time up there because that's where I got like the vampire Waluigi that I like a lot.
Oh yeah.
And like there are so many of the P-Switch things that take place on those docks.
Oh yes. That are all the different like ghost
I love those tribute tracks.
Yeah.
I love the tribute tracks. I think that's such a fun way to include them. But yeah, I need to go back up there because I haven't even really gone into the actual like track part of it. The cinema part.
So in the movie theater itself, one of the P-Switches releases things from the movies, like in quotes.
Fun.
So like and it's like 3 little laps around the theater itself. And the first thing that happens is a T-Rex charges out of the movie screen. And then there's like there are like dinosaur eggs later and like buffalo kind of charging at you. So it's like a little bit of a dinosaur movie, a little bit of a Western. And it's just like, what a fun little invention of this single challenge, just like mixing up all this cinematic influence. Really a cool game, and I like playing it. Mark, should we move on to talking about some old Zelda games?
Yeah. I had to really fight my desire to get back into Breath of the Wild. I had gotten off the Great Plateau. I was on my way to Kakariko Village.
Yeah.
And then put it down to play some other stuff. And this weekend I was like, "Ooh, should I really wanted to get back into Breath of the Wild." But I have also really been wanting to replay Wind Waker.
Yeah.
And so I booted up the old GameCube Nintendo Switch Online and started Wind Waker, and I'm not that far into it. I ended up turning on the CRT filter, and I think that that's a nice addition. I don't really feel like it. At least I've been playing in handheld mode mostly this weekend.
Right.
So I didn't really feel like it made that big of a difference. But it's a nice to have. And I am not that far into the game. So I basically finished Outset Island.
Okay.
And, met Tetra and her crew. I'm heading off to rescue my sister and all
to
that
the Great
stuff.
Fortress or whatever it's called. Yeah.
But I'm enjoying being in it, and I'm looking forward to making more progress in Wind Waker.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear, because like the beginning of that game is pretty good, right? Like the stretch until you like end up on Windswept Island. What's the name of the island with like the big town on it?
Oh, I can't remember.
Where you meet the King of Red Lions. So it's like before you do any sailing, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
That stretch of the game is all like pretty good and pretty fun and accessible. And I just wonder how the like 20-year-old design of about 20-year-old design of slowly sailing on the Great Sea, how that's going to feel.
I know, without all the niceties of the HD version. Yeah, totally. I mean, you definitely feel the I had forgotten like kind of the retroness of it.
Yeah.
And using like the camera controls, you can do like free camera, but it does not feel intuitive, and the game's not really made
Sure.
to be played that way, right? Like to use the camera stick like like a second analog stick.
Right.
And then there are so many cutscenes that are unskippable at like the beginning of the game.
Oh, sure.
That, especially coming from Breath of the Wild, where you're in it pretty quickly. Like,
yep.
You know, you're using Link, and obviously when you're talking to the old man and stuff, there's some like some cutscene stuff where you don't have control. But for the most part, you're into it really quickly. And the beginning of Wind Waker has, you know, they're setting up the Hyrule of the past, and you know, like what happened to that Hyrule, and like all that kind of stuff. That I did find myself wishing like was a little snappier, and you can't even skip it if you wanted to.
Right. Well, and it's also just so interesting that like we have a better version of Wind Waker in the HD version that's just going to be stuck on GameCube or on Wii U probably forever.
Oh man, yeah.
It feels like that game was in need of the update.
It really. I'm going to continue to play Wind Waker, but even playing the opening part, I was like, oof. I wish I could play this HD version.
Yeah.
Like I wish I could play it with all the modern niceties.
Right. Yeah, it's a game that I want to like get into and get back to, but like I'm having such a good time playing Breath of the Wild where I'm like I can't be tempted away to anything else when Breath of the Wild is there. I am shocked by I'm off the Great Plateau. I have not approached any of the 4 divine beasts yet, but I've been to Kakariko Village and Hateno, and then back to Kakariko, and I've recovered one of the memories, and I've done maybe like 15 shrines, something like that. And it's amazing to me how much I'm just playing the game the way I did originally.
That's what I was gonna ask. I wondered if you were just doing however you felt like it, and it just turned out to be very similar to how you played it before, or if you were purposefully trying to play it a different way.
Well, so I'm not I'm not saying that I'm like approaching the divine beasts in the same order. I haven't made a decision yet about how I'm going to do that, but I am just like very much in the same way of Mario Kart World. I am letting my curiosity drive my decisions. So when I see something that's interesting or something that I remember, or I'm like, oh, I think there's a shrine over here, I explore those things. And then like, because the game is so good about you grow in hearts and stamina and inventory, and like individual things in your inventory and resources, just like by roaming around the world, like I feel wholly motivated to just screw around in the world, because Link always gets better when you like run around. Like I took on a moderate challenge of strength or whatever. It's a moderate test of strength, fighting a little like guardian guy in one of these shrines that I feel like I was pretty underprepared for, and by the time I was done, like my weapons were all like fried and I was out of arrows. But like I did it, and then like I was like, oh man, how am I gonna bounce back from this? You just go back out into the world and like you just start gathering stuff again and you're fine, And I don't have any grand conclusion about Breath of the Wild that we probably haven't said on the show before, but it is just so fun to explore that world.
Yeah, man, you talking about that just reminds me. I just feel like so much of that game was fun when you were still building your stamina wheel, like when there were restrictions, like when you weren't that strong. Because by the end of the game, I felt like I was so like overpowered.
Yeah,
I had amazing weapons. I had I feel like I could take on Lionel's. Like there really wasn't anything left.
Yes,
except the Trial of the Champions or whatever it was called that I never beat.
Right. The Trial of the Sword.
The Trial of the Sword.
And the Champions Ballad. It's two separate things.
Okay, yeah. The Trial of the Sword.
Yeah,
I never completed that. But yeah, like the early going in that game when your map isn't all filled out, when you are just getting like rocked by bokoblins,
right?
Like that part is so exciting.
Yeah, I fought a Hinox the other day and he was like tough, and I was like, this is awesome. This is so good. And the way that through everything that I've already described, plus the abilities that you get from the champions by defeating the divine beasts, really does like open that world up to you. And just the more you explore it, the more you can just teleport around the map and like all that kind of stuff. It really is between both it and Tears of the Kingdom just all about being overwhelmed by a world that you eventually, against all odds, obtain mastery over.
So good.
And yeah, there's no feeling like it. Like it feels like genuine accomplishment.
Also, I love how scary the Guardians are, especially in the early going to that game.
Yes.
Like even when you encounter them on the Great Plateau, I was like, I forgot how scary this is.
Yeah.
To hear that music and then have like the laser targeted at you. Oh, it's so good. That game's so good.
The game's incredible, but here what have we been singing the praises of Breath of the Wild for 8 years straight? Makes sense. All right, Mark, let's that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
This week is a new update for the Nintendo Music app.
Didn't get one last week.
Didn't get one last week. They let us know we weren't going to. Clubhouse Games, 51 Worldwide Classics, the soundtrack that was added to Nintendo Music this week. I'm not familiar with this game soundtrack really at all.
I mean, it's a lot of the sort of classic, like Nintendo working music. The sort of like,
oh, nice,
yeah, it's got a good vibe to it. And like along the lines of like the Miitopia or Wii system music, or like Street Pass games. But because it's on Switch, a little bit higher fidelity and all of that stuff. So I was grooving to it on the way over here to record with you tonight, Mark. And I think it's a good collection of like sort of undersung Nintendo music.
Oh, I'll have to check it out then.
Yeah.
Sounds like could be a good one, like you said, for working.
Yep.
And then today, June 17th, Disney Tron Catalyst is released.
Yeah, which is the sequel to like the last one of these Tron games that they made.
Okay, are these the Mike
point-and-click
Bithell adventure games?
So they're that, but they're also like an overhead action game.
Oh,
so,
okay.
And I guess I'm unclear as to whether the overhead action stuff is new to Catalyst or if it was also part of the previous one called like Identity or something like that.
Maybe.
It's something along those lines. But it maintains the like visual novel kind of storytelling of the previous one as well. Or at least is my understanding. I watched a little bit of like a gameplay trailer for this thing, and I was like, "Oh, does this seem cool? Like, is this cool?"
It must be at least okay if they keep making them.
And I like Mike Bithell. Like Thomas Was Alone is a game that I love. So
and the aesthetics of Tron are cool.
I mean, undeniably so. Yes, and we got a new Tron coming out.
Oh, right.
Are we gonna see that as part of NCS?
Maybe we will
at the movies.
Yeah,
maybe we will. Nobody knows.
What if Tron in world? Also on Tuesday, Date Everything is released. This is a game that I feel like we saw a million years ago.
Yeah,
at like an indie showcase. It probably wasn't that long, but
no, but it does feel like it was like early last year sometime, right?
But, yeah, and it's like,
at the most recent.
It's like a comedic dating sim where the gimmick is that literally everything in the world is anthropomorphic and you can romance it. So like the washing machine, your living room chair,
the vacuum cleaner, your own sense of dread.
Yes,
all of these things can be made into a dateable human.
And then on Thursday, June 19th, Raido Remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army is released on Switch and Switch 2. This is a Atlas game from the PlayStation 2 era that is related to Shin Megami Tensei, and we saw it at the March Nintendo Direct, the last kind of like the big Direct that we had for Switch before the Switch 2 was revealed.
Yeah, that's right. So now, and both Switch and Switch 2 versions of the game are launching this Thursday.
And I think that is all the new releases.
Is there anything on here that you are interested, or are you sort of just in like a sampling, games that you can play on your Switch 2 until Bonanza comes out?
Yeah, like I want to make progress in Wind Waker, and I really want to start Cyberpunk, and I still haven't done that. So
yeah, you got to start Cyberpunk because I can't be alone in this thing. And I think if you're playing it, it'll make me want to play it too. So, yeah. Okay. Well, great. So those are the new releases. Let's close this segment which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433, the last 433 before our 866 episode mark.
That's right.
I'm marking the occasion now. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of the show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, we're doing a great cookie showdown.
The great cookie showdown. Ultimate cookie showdown, according to the title of the article.
Very good. And we're getting this from BuzzFeed yet again.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you, BuzzFeed.
So they're
pitting cookies against each other.
Cookies against each other.
Okay.
Yes, there's 20 rounds. In testing this before we began, we already chose between oatmeal raisin cookie and biscotti.
Right, and I said just click on the one that isn't biscotti.
And I don't like biscotti, and I like oatmeal raisin cookies. That was an easy one for me. All right, so our next matchup then.
And a good biscotti is very good, but you need to go to like an Italian bakery and it needs to be fresh.
I'm trying to imagine what a good biscotti would be like. I don't know that I've ever had one.
It is both like crispy and soft at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
It's like it's a very good thing when done well, usually like flavored with like a little bit of like almond and like there's some sort of like icing drizzle thing on it or on part of it. Sometimes that's chocolate, sometimes it's like a vanilla, or like it can be like a little bit citrusy too. It can be a very good cookie.
I'm a man of faith. I believe the biscotti can be good. I just haven't experienced it in my own life.
You just believe that biscotti is not inherently born good.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. Peanut butter cookies versus peanut butter blossoms.
Okay, can you describe peanut butter blossom?
I can. I bet you've seen them before. They're round. It almost looks like somebody put a thumb in the middle and then they put a Hershey Kiss on top.
Okay, so this was my mother's go-to Christmas cookie.
Oh, okay.
So I got to go with the peanut butter blossom.
I like that. I like having a little bit of chocolate in there.
Yeah.
That feels good to me. Up next is sugar cookies, and this one has icing on it, versus gingerbread cookies. Now, I'll say for me personally, I'm a gingerbread cookie person.
Oh, you
I
are?
like gingerbread.
Okay,
yeah.
I was going to...
The more ginger, the better. The more like molassesy and gingery, the better.
I think gingerbread cookie is another one that has a low floor. Like a bad,
it could be
bad
very... But I feel that way about sugar cookies, too.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
feel like the default sugar cookie is bad.
Right. Well, and sugar cookie is almost more of like a arts and crafts project than it is a treat, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go with gingerbread.
Okay. I appreciate that. S'mores cookies or Oreos.
What do we mean?
It looks like it's just
cookie?
a cookie that has chocolate and probably graham cracker in it, and then like marshmallow.
That is not a real thing. And also, Oreos may be the perfect cookie. So, I mean,
Oreos.
Yeah, going with Oreos.
Yeah, easy for me. Lemon cookies versus snickerdoodles.
Okay, now this is a little tricky. So, like, it's like a lemon shortbread, or
it looks like it has like a drizzle of maybe like lemon vanilla frosting.
Yeah,
on the
I
top.
think I got to go with the snickerdoodle on this one.
I'm also a snickerdoodle.
I like a good. You know who makes a good snickerdoodle? Friend of the show, Ryan Mogi.
Oh,
have you not had her snickerdoodles?
I can't remember.
She brought them to some Andor party that I was throwing. So,
then maybe I did. Maybe I did have them. Yes. Okay. Thumbprint cookies, which I can already tell you are a big no for me.
Yes.
I don't like those.
Where it's got it's like a little cup of jam almost, a cookie cup of jam.
Or white chocolate macadamia nut cookies.
Oh yeah, give me macadamia nuts.
Yeah, they might kill me. I'm not entirely sure, but worth it. Over having to eat one of the thumbprint cookies.
Because Mark has a tree nut allergy.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Whoopie pies versus macarons.
Okay. Remind me which one is macaron. Is that like the little coconut thing? Oh no, they're like the little sandwich cookies.
Where you have to, or at least on the Great British Bake Off, they have to like slam the pan down to get the air out.
Sure.
I think whoopie pies are disgusting.
Yeah, I will agree with that. And also, macarons are good for like interesting flavors. Like you can have a straight chocolate or like a caramel or whatever, but like I've also had some like excellent like lavender and lemon cookies like that. So
all right, this is, I'm just gonna say it, a loser's bracket.
Okay.
Wafers versus fortune cookies.
Oh God!
I wish we could choose neither, but we are forced to choose.
I'm gonna say the wafer cookies.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I have such a sweet tooth that it's amazing to me that I will open a fortune cookie, read the fortune, and then not eat the cookie.
Ginger snaps, or black and white cookies.
I guess ginger snaps.
Yeah, I really like ginger snaps. We are only halfway through.
Okay. Well,
here's the last one. We'll do the last one.
Okay, last one.
Molasses cookies or chocolate chip cookies?
Chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Chocolate chip is sort of the platonic ideal of the cookie.
It's everything a sugar cookie wishes it could be.
Absolutely.
But it's not. Oh, wait. Now we're on, these look to be matchups against each other. But
oh, good. Then we've done all of the unique
yes,
cookies.
That's right.
Okay.
We've done
all the unique matchups.
Yeah.
Just a comment about the peanut butter blossom cookies that I said my mother used to make for Christmas. As a child, I liked chocolate so much that I would like get in trouble for like trying to sneak it. So when she was making these cookies, and I'm like real little, I'm like 3 or something. And I thought that if I took a Hershey Kiss for myself and ate it, that I would get in trouble. So instead, what I did, when she had like peeled a bunch of these things for use in the cookies, I bit the tip off of each one. I guess thinking that no one would notice that a little bit was missing from each cookie. But I effectively ruined the whole batch of kisses because you can't use them then. All right, we were accompanied today by pianist Kyle Shaw. Mark, let's get into the news.
Nintendo has announced a Donkey Kong Bananza-centric Nintendo Direct for this Wednesday, June 18th at 6 a.m. Pacific time. Very similar to the Mario Kart World Direct. Mm-hmm. They promised it's about 15 minutes of information on the game. And of course, we're just about a month away from Donkey Kong Bananza releasing on July 17th.
Yep. And obviously we're not going to be doing like an episode about this Direct. I'm sort of not expecting there to be any information in here that couldn't have been gleaned by like watching the Treehouses over the last like month or so, or by reading anybody's coverage of it during that same period. What are you expecting? Are you expecting anything big here?
After the Mario Kart World Direct, which I thought was fine as like an expanded overview trailer.
Totally.
But that's kind of my expectation for this as well. Not if you'd watched the Treehouse Lives after the Switch 2 was revealed, then it'll probably be like a lot of that information again.
Yeah, I do feel like I am kind of in the dark, that I haven't been seeking out that information all that much. I take some of it in just by osmosis, but I am interested to watch this thing. I'm usually awake at 6 a.m. anyway, so I'm sure I'll watch it as it happens, and hang out in the Discord. We'll be talking about it there, I'm sure. But it's interesting that they're setting these like not really appointment Nintendo Directs for 6 a.m.
Well, I'm going to but also I think 6 a.m. might just be the time now, because I think the Switch 2 Direct was also 6 a.m.
Right.
So I feel like that's maybe what they've settled on. Instead of doing like Pacific time afternoon, they've settled on doing early morning Pacific time. I'm actually going to jump ahead a little bit in our notes.
Oh, okay.
Just because Nintendo did make 2 big Splatoon announcements via video on the Nintendo Today app last week. The first being a Splatoon spin-off game coming sometime in the future called Splatoon Raiders. The slug for it is, in the role of a mechanic, players will go on an adventure in the mysterious Spirhalite Islands alongside the Splat-tacular Deep Cut Trio. The trailer doesn't really show that much. They're like on a helicopter headed towards the islands that seem to be in like the eye of a storm. We know that it's coming for Switch 2, that it's like a Switch 2 game, and there's no release window. They said look forward to more. My question is, with that announcement being shadow dropped, and with this Donkey Kong...
go ahead. Before you pose this question, let's also get the other part of these Splatoon news from that same
Sure, yeah.
trailer.
The second part is that they were updating Splatoon 3 to version 10, and this was included like a bunch of new items and things like that. And then
Urchin Underpass returns from Splatoon 1.
Right.
But sort of like and there's some like new higher freshness caps on weapons, and a new stat for weapons that like tracks how successful you are using each of those weapons, and then matchmaking based on that stat. But also the visual improvements for Switch 2 players along with like the guarantee that Switch 2 and Switch 1 can play together. And all of that has now, since between the announcement and us recording this show, has launched and is active. So like, it's not the Switch 2 edition of Splatoon 3, but it's not that.
Yeah, and it's interesting that, Splatoon 3 on Switch 2 has better graphics, and then on Switch 1, they went back into like turf war levels and removed some of the background detail.
Oh, interesting.
Because they wanted it to be able to like run at a similar
frame rate
as the Switch 2, because there's cross-platform play.
Interesting. So like sort of creating the like gameplay parity between the two.
Exactly. Yeah. Sacrificing visual fidelity on the Switch in order to have the gameplay parity with the Switch 2.
Right. That's very interesting. Oh, I meant to mention this in what we've been playing, but I went back in and mess with my HDR settings on my Switch, because it's kind of a two-step process, and the second step it like makes you opt into doing. So like first you do this thing where you adjust the two suns so that you can only see one of them and the other one disappears. You select that, and then there's like one more thing where you can adjust the brightness. And my brightness was like too high, so I just like knocked it down a notch or two. And now everything looks great.
Oh, nice.
So if you are finding that like with your HDR activated that everything is appearing just like a little bit too bright, you can adjust that. But back to this.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, with the Donkey Kong Bananza specific Direct coming this week, and then the announcement of Splatoon Raiders, plus, that big Splatoon 3 update, I don't know, do you think that this is indication that we're not going to get a June Direct as we have in years past, and that they're just any announcements that they have to make as far as like first party stuff goes, they're just going to meter out in different ways,
like in the Nintendo Today app, for example? I sort of think we got no June Direct, no big wide ranging June Direct, and like part of that, we've been talking about it, but like it seems like Nintendo's calendar for the rest of the year is basically set, right? We know what's coming out essentially every month until the end of the year, and if you like me, think that Hyrule Warriors could be coming out in January, a little bit into next year as well. So yeah, I mean, I do think that like, what is even really the need for it? We don't have a release date for Metroid Prime 4, but that's a perfect Nintendo Today announcement, right?
Right, and
and Kirby's Air Ride, same thing.
Yeah, that's right. And Dragon Drive, I guess, as well.
Right. Yes.
But also something they could easily announce on Nintendo Today and be like, it's available now. Like, you can
totally
buy this game.
I think September, though.
September, I agree with you, makes a lot of sense, because anything they want to show in those first few months of 2026, they could wait until September to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I also think that you can wait to do a release date and like blow out for what Kirby Air Riders ends up being until September.
Yeah, totally.
Because I think that game probably comes out in November.
I also wonder if maybe we'll get like a third-party showcase or something.
Yeah, possible. Or an indie world.
Yes, an indie world seems likely. Ooh, the first indie world of the Switch 2 era.
Ooh.
Wonder what changes, if anything. The branding.
Oh, yeah.
The graphics at the beginning. The fidelity of the puns.
I bet those remain unchanged, Mark.
Okay. In the first 4 days on the market, Switch 2 sold 3.5 million units globally, according to Nintendo, making it their fastest selling game system ever. And even though they don't say it in their press release, I think just the fastest game selling game system ever.
And I think a lot of that is just because they were way less supply constraint than any recent console launch has been.
Yeah, I think that seemingly they've been manufacturing them since like September of last year or something. So they had, which makes like it interesting, because let's say they launch like I'm guessing that they didn't ship literally everything that they had made between September or whenever they started making them last year, and April or June, I guess. But it's like, yeah, they had 3.5 million ready to go at launch, but how many more could they have for the rest of the summer? If they've been stockpiling for so long.
Well, and like, I don't know. What is your perception of this? Do you think that there are people who wanted to buy a Switch 2 at launch who like planned to but like couldn't work it out?
I do think that's true. I do think that there were people who wanted one but haven't been able to get one because there have been restocks at all of the major retailers.
Sure.
I think there was one at GameStop today online, and they all sell out.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But I guess that could also be people who didn't intend to get it at launch but have seen
seen good things about it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Like, so many of the recent console launches have just been supply constrained, right? Like they sell as many as they can make because everyone wants to buy them. And I just wonder like what the upper bound is on that for like a new Nintendo console or a new PlayStation, maybe a less Xbox, but they're popular too. So I don't know. I wonder. It seems to me like this is less a feat of like demand for a Nintendo product, even though it is high, and more of a feat of supply.
Yeah, of like logistics.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see when it evens out and how it evens out. Okay, in an interview with Famitsu, AAA Studio, a division of Koei Tecmo, head Yosuke Hayashi said that Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment was originally conceived as a Switch game before they changed it to Switch 2.
Are you finding that as you speak about Nintendo consoles that when you say the word Switch, the word 2 wants to tumble out of your mouth?
I am finding that.
Yeah, I find that too. Yes.
It's almost like the opposite of what happens with Wii U, where I tend to just want to call it the Wii.
Sure. Yeah.
Here's what Hayashi said. Quote, We changed it to Nintendo Switch 2 midway through, and just by transferring what we had been creating up until then to Nintendo Switch 2, the number of enemies that appeared and the frame rate changed dramatically, and the game simply became a lot more fun. We were also surprised at how much the game's fun could change thanks to the hardware.
So, it's funny that a Dynasty Warriors type Musou game is like, oh, we can put more guys on screen. That's more fun. It's just like the ethos of those Musou games.
Yeah, totally. Also, just interesting that this is another game that we know started development on Switch and then transitioned to Switch 2. And I wonder,
like Mario Kart World.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wonder how many games that turns out to be the case. I mean, we'll probably never know.
Right.
But just interesting to think, even internally at Nintendo,
Yeah, it makes me wonder like how much they want those stories to get out, because like that's obviously going to be true for Metroid Prime 4, but Metroid Prime 4 will be playable on Switch 1, and like Age of Imprisonment not going to be available to play on Switch 1. So, just like an interesting little dance that they're doing there with like, oh yeah, we developed this game for a platform 150 million people on this planet have. But then we decided it's really better if we release it on a platform that 3.5 million people have,
An update in the relationship between Nintendo and Amazon
in the US. Kind of an update.
Kind of.
It's a results-focused update and not a what actually happened here update.
Right, because we don't know. But what we do know is that after years, maybe, of games and Nintendo products not being available for sale on Amazon from Amazon, they now are seemingly like pre-orders for Donkey Kong Bananza, Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV, and Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Starcross World are now all available for purchase on Amazon from Amazon.
Right, but not like a Switch 2.
Right. No hardware yet, and strangely only 2 of the new amiibo are available. Sidon from Tears of the Kingdom and Jamie from Street Fighter 6.
Of course, no surprise that Yunobo's not available there.
Nope, just clogging the store shelves of Best Buys, I guess.
But just Sidon.
Yeah, just Sidon.
I have seen pictures on like Reddit of Best Buy amiibo shelves, and they are just full of these Tears of the Kingdom amiibo. I think Nintendo maybe overestimated the moment for these things.
I think people just don't care about the sages as much as they like the champions.
Oh, I mean, definitely not. And also not a year and a half after, 2 years after Tears of the Kingdom came out.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I wonder what their internal metrics are like for the Nintendo Switch 2 editions of these games. You know, like, obviously Tears of the Kingdom sold really well, but not as well as Breath of the Wild.
Right.
And I wonder which one people are choosing to buy, choosing to upgrade. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a good question. I do think there's probably a fair like amount of the audience that had played Breath of the Wild, and by the time Tears of the Kingdom came out, that they're like, Switch is old. I'm not really gonna mess with that. Obviously not in like the circles that we run in, right, where people are addicted to playing the next new thing. But like, yeah, coming home to Switch 2 is like a perfect time to revisit a game that you didn't pick up in the first place, like Tears of the Kingdom. So I wonder if we'll ever get numbers on that.
Yeah. Or I wonder if again, we'll ever know what went down with Nintendo and Amazon in the US. I've heard online speculation.
Here we go. What has Mark heard?
Yeah,
I love this.
That it was about like counterfeit Nintendo products being sold by third parties on Amazon, and that Nintendo of America was upset that Amazon wasn't more like restrictive on that, or like doing any sort of verification on if they were real or not, or anything like that.
Which is like consistent with the way Nintendo is characterized in a lot of their like business decisions. There was like all of those rumors or reporting about like a Star Fox show that like they were working on with Netflix, and then like someone at Netflix started talking about it, and Nintendo was like, forget it, we're not doing it. That like, yeah, if you cross Nintendo in some way, they're gonna be like, you know what, we don't need to do business
just
with
ice you out.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to me that it's just like Amazon in the US. Like so many other Amazon stores around the world carried into, they always carried Nintendo products. There was no like ice out or anything.
Yeah.
So
Weird stuff.
Probably some like Washington Seattle turf war that we.
Ooh, yeah, probably that's it.
Finally, hey, one story just for friend of the show, Connor McCabe.
Hey, Connor.
Backyard Baseball 97 got a surprise release on Switch last week. $10.
Are you familiar, Mark, with the Backyard
with the
Baseball
series?
Yeah.
I've never played it, but I know that it has like a loyal following of people who played it as kids.
Connor McCabe is one of them, and I mean, Backyard Baseball is a pretty good name for it. It's just like a series of baseball games where you play as these like kids in a little league, and all of the baseball fields are like places that would be in the neighborhood, and it's like full of personality and super cute. And I've watched Connor play a ton of these games. So hey, Connor, if you didn't know already, Backyard Baseball 97 is available on Switch for $10. All right, Mark, that's the end of the news. Let's close this segment out. Okay, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Join our Discord, email us, I'll send you an invitation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers, saying thank you for listening.